If you've ever read or maybe even worked on a comic, you know that having backgrounds in your comic is essential to give the characters a sense of place and belonging in your world. Establishing shots with detailed background drawings are used to introduce a location, while later panels might feature less detailed background drawings or smaller sections of the background to provide visual variation and continually ground characters in their surroundings. When you want to focus on characters but still include backgrounds, sometimes it can be difficult to figure out how to add backgrounds in a way that isn't distracting, but rather boosting the characters themselves. So let's dive right into a few of the ways we can do that. Method 1. Adjust line art color. One of the easiest ways to set apart any kind of visual element and create contrast is brightness. The same holds true for line art. If you use a lighter color for background elements and a darker color for foreground elements, we visually separate the two and bring the focus to the foreground. In Clip Studio Paint, this can be easily accomplished by using the Layer Property Effect Layer Color option. Click to activate it, then either click the color field and select the color, or select an existing color with a different method, and then click the fill bucket to apply it. Depending on whether you want to ground your character in your background, you may not want to apply the line art color to the entire background. The easiest way to achieve such an effect is to create a new layer, then use the layer settings Clip to Layer Below option. Then simply paint or draw on the new layer, changing individual sections to a different color. Keep in mind that you can also use gradient effects or soft brushes if you're dealing with a background that is supposed to both ground characters in their location as well as boost them. Method 2. Adjust line art thickness. Another way to create visual contrast is by putting thin or small shapes against thick or large shapes. If you draw your characters with thick line art, drawing the background with thin line art can easily make both elements stand apart. But maybe you've already drawn a background and are realizing this option too late, or accidentally ended up making the line art thicker than you planned on. Fortunately, if you've used the vector layer to draw your background, you can easily change the entire thickness of line art with just a few clicks. Use the Operation Object tool, then click and drag to select your entire layer. Look for the Tool Property window and the Brush Size option. Here you can adjust the value to change the thickness of your line art across your entire selection. If you want to make smaller, more individual adjustments, use the Correct Line Width tool and manually go over the portions you want to either make thicker or more narrow. Try adjusting the values of these options if the change is not as noticeable as you want. You can also process individual lines rather than segments of lines. Method 3. Outline characters. One method for letting characters stand out from the background is to literally create a gap between character line art and background line art. If you've already drawn a background though, it might be a lot of work to go back in manually and erase parts around the character. Fortunately, there's another Clip Studio Paint feature that helps us with this. Look for the Layer Property Effect Border Effect option. Click to activate it, then set the edge color and thickness of edge value. In a color drawing, you may need to first make a selection from your line art and your color layer. Then create a new layer, fill the selection, and then apply the outline effect to that new layer. Method 4. Contrast, color, or tone. If you use grayscale toning or color in your comic, you have another neat way of separating your character from backgrounds. Depending on a scene or feeling you want to evoke, you can either use dimmer, brighter, or darker colors on the background than on your character. This works especially well if combined with the line art color method. Another option is to use complementary colors, for example, using warmer colors on your character and colder ones on the background. If you struggle with picking colors for your background that achieve this effect, you can use various blending modes as a shortcut. Simply color the background in a more normal color first, and then add a new layer with a different color above your background. Experiment with the blending modes. For example, using Add at half transparency gives a similar effect to using dimmer colors or even coloring your line art. Method 5. Highlight characters. This tip only works if you are using grayscale toning or color. Using rim lighting style highlights on your character can really make them pop from the background in a very dramatic way. This, once again, can be done by using the Clip to Layer Below option, this time on a color fill layer rather than on a line art layer. Of course, this is not suitable for every situation, and might make more sense when there are dramatic lighting situations or dramatic moments in the narrative. If you apply the effect less intensely, it might feel more natural in a more common setting. And there you have it! 5 fast and easy ways to utilize Clip Studio Paint's features to let backgrounds boost characters. You can use these individually or combine them. Let me know if these options helped you, or if you have any questions.